Hello guys and welcome to the brand new edition of the Russian Football News Predictions League. We are just days away from the start of the 2017-2018 season in the Russian Football Premier League, and we have some exciting news for you. We have the Predictions League back, but it is bigger and better than ever before. Now, if you go on the website, you'll find the full details. There'll be an article coming up either today or tomorrow where I've written down everything so you can understand all the new changes we've made. There's no real change for you as a player. You still do the same thing. You predict all the results, but we've got some more incentives for you to play this time. So, guys, just very briefly, I'll run through those in name, but the details, like I say, are on the website. So, as usual, all you do is predict the score of all 8 Russian Premier League games. If you get the perfect score, the exact result and the scoreline, you get 3 points. If you get the correct result but the wrong scoreline, you get 1 point. And if you get the wrong result, you get 0. Same as usual. We'll have a leaderboard for adding up the points. We'll have points per predictions. So even if you miss a week or two, your average score per prediction you make will still be counted alongside everybody else's. We'll have an Apertura League for the first half of the season and a Clausura League for the second half of the season. Personal records as usual, but we're going to add a few little extras in. Now, we're going to do a Player of the Month. So each month that there are games in them, perhaps for December we'll add that on to November, but you get the basic idea. Usually there's between 3 and 5 games in a month, and we'll have a Player of the Month, so whoever in our game predicts most successfully over the month will win a small prize, and that's the other point. There will be prizes this time. Now, the prizes are not confirmed as yet, but they will consist of things like match programs from the games themselves, team sheets. We have some of our writers going to games every weekend, so we'll be able to pick up different prizes from the games themselves. Hopefully we'll get some autographs for some of the bigger prizes, and we may even provide a shirt for the winner. And I can't confirm any of this yet because we haven't got our hands on them yet. The whole point is we will get them as the season progresses. But we will certainly be creative, and there will be prizes for the winners of the overall league, the points per prediction, Apertura, Clausura, and others as well. Now, guys, like I say, the website is where you can find out the details, so I'm going to leave it there for now, explaining the game itself. But for now, I'm going to preview the first round of games. One last thing I will say actually is the thing that we're going to add this week, that is this year, that is very important, is we would like you to provide us with an email address we can contact you with so that we can remind you of the predictions. One of the main problems we had last season was that people forgot or weren't reminded in time, so we're going to keep it as a regular email update as well as the Facebook and Twitter updates as well. The other side of that is if you provide us with an email address, we'll be able to contact you with details how to get a prize delivered to you at the end of the season. Also, we're going to do a newsletter this season, which is going to be very exciting. The newsletter will give you updates of the Predictions League. I'll explain how things are going and what to expect and who's above average, etc. We'll also do highlights from the website, the best articles we've had in the last couple of weeks or so, and we'll have a little mailbox feature. So any questions you send to us on social media, on the website, we will answer them in there too. So anyway, that's business over and done with. That's the game. Now to the predictions. So first up, this weekend we have Ural against Rostov, the very first game of the season. I will be there in Yekaterinburg reporting from the SKB Bank Arena. Now, in terms of both clubs, they've had very different summers. Ural have had a relatively steady summer. They've not really seen many players leave. Roman Pavlyuchenko has gone. He's in fact joined Ararat Moscow, a very interesting club that seemed to be drawing in 2 or 3 other big names. But he's gone. And in his place, Igor Portnyagin has come in on loan. He's probably the biggest name, which is a bit depressing really if you're an Ural fan. The point is, though, that most of their main stars have stayed. Eric Bikfalvi is still there, Chisamba Lungu is still there, Roman Yemelyanov is still there. Rostov, on the other hand, well, if you follow Russian football at all, you will know they are in deep, deep trouble. Kurban Berdev has left them about 13 or 14 first-team players have left them, most of their first-choice lineup. Sardar Azmoun is likely to join them soon. They have brought in some interesting players. They've got Saïd Ezzatolahi back from his loan spell at Angers, Moussa Doumbia back from his at Arsenal Toula, but they are a team in disarray. There's no two ways about it. So I'm going for an Oral win here. I am slightly biased, I admit, but I do genuinely believe they are the more settled side, and we do tend to be decent earlier in the season and tail off later on. So I don't think it's going to be high scoring. Oral don't score a great deal of goals really. I'm just going to keep it simple and go for 1-0 to Oral. Okay, Tosna Ufa on Saturday evening in fact. Now Tosna are again a side, they've been promoted. They were second in the FNL last season. They have brought in a hell of a lot of players, so how they will gel together, I honestly can't say. They've been a club on the up since they were formed a few years ago, so they're certainly very interesting to watch. Ufa have really done almost nothing in the transfer market, but again, they've kept relatively steady, but they're not moving forward a great deal here. So, it's going to be difficult to predict how they'll do, but Sergei Semak has been pretty solid with them so far. But they are strong away from home, Ufa, don't forget. This will be at the Petrovsky Stadium in St. Petersburg as well. Tosna will be playing in St. Petersburg this season. I'm going to go for a draw here. I don't see it high scoring. The Russian league, as you all will know by now, is not no high scoring. I think it'll probably be 0-0 going into half time. Whether either side will score, personally I think not. I'm going to say 0-0 full time. So that is my prediction for that. Angers against CSKA. Now I'm going to have to rattle along here, I don't want to run out of time. Angers, CSKA. Well, Angers, as usual, have had a complete clear out for the third time in 12 months. Last summer, in the winter, and they changed manager, of course, in the winter. Alexander Grigorian, who's a bit of a nutter for anybody who's not 100% au fait with Russian football. Just keep your eyes open for him. Weird dress sense, weird sense of humour. Well, he has none. But anyhow, in terms of a team, a lot of changes, and again, they've not brought in the highest class of player like they used to a few years ago. CSKA have brought in basically nobody, but they do have Fyodor Chalov coming through from youth team. It looks like a few more of the young players will come through under Viktor Goncharenko. He is, of course, very passionate about supporting youth. So over the course of the season, I'm sure we'll see a few more of those come through. Zoran Tosic has left. Roman Yeremienko, is still banned, of course, for his cocaine problem. So what do we see happening here? Well, it's CSKA. They grind out results and they can play good football, but I don't think they need to do a great deal more. This is Angers away. It's a difficult game. There's no two ways about that, but I think it'll probably be a second half goal, and I'm going for 1-0 to CSKA. Not especially exciting predictions so far, I fully accept that, but then again, low scoring games tend to be the norm in Russian football. However, there are some fixtures coming up which will provide some some more goals, I'm sure. SKA Energia Khabarovsk host Zenit St. Petersburg, all the way over on the far east of Asia, a few hundred kilometres from the North Korean border, in fact. 7 time zones, I believe it is, and this is the dreaded away fixture that all Premier League clubs will be groaning at when they see the fixture list. Zenit, I think, are lucky to get this one out of the way first off, because they've reinforced very well. Of course, anybody who's kept an eye on this summer transfer window so far will know Roberto Mancini is now in charge. Leandro Paredes has joined from Roma, and they have basically pillaged Rostov. They brought in Dmitry Polos, Alexander Yerokhin, Christian Noboa, Denis Terentiev. Sebastian Driussi has just joined as well from River Plate. So they really have they've spent 35 million or something. Bearing in mind, Rubin Kazan were our biggest spenders last summer with only 10 million. Also, I believe maybe it was a bit more, but it wasn't much more. So Zenit looking in pretty good shape. And usually I'm going to say for the course of this season, SKA Khabarovsk away is going to be a tough one, but I actually think this is the best time to play them. They're fresh, they're new, they they've got a lot of new players themselves. So I'm going to go for a Zenit win in this one. I don't, again, it's going to be the theme of this. I don't think they're going to score a whole ton. They've got potential to score a lot. I mean, when you've got a forward line that includes Alexander Kokorin, Alex Shatov, Artyom Dzyuba, Sebastian Driussi, I haven't seen him play, but he's very highly rated. Alexander Yerokhin, you've got Kristin Naborov as set pieces. There could be a ton of goals. But, it's a long journey. Just need the win. So I'm going to go for 2-0 here, actually. I'm going to be slightly adventurous. Okay, Rubin Kazan against Krasnodar. Now, this one's a tricky one to call. Rubin, of course, have got Kurban Badev in charge now. And he was the guy, of course, who won 2 league titles with them, beat Barcelona in the Nou Camp in 2009, I believe it was. And he has brought with him 1 or 2 players, Vladimir Granat, Fyodor Kudryashov. Cesar Navas won't be joining them. He has returned to Spain for, I believe his father is ill, or there's been a fatality in the family even. Sardar Azmoun is certain to join soon. They've got rid of a bit of a deadwood, so they're in good shape. Fyodor Smolov, that beautiful, beautiful man, and the Russian Football News Player for Year, 2016, is injured. So that's a big loss for Krasnodar. So what do we see happening here? I'm edging towards a Rubin win. Last season, a lot of us backed Rubin early in the season when they came in with a lot of money, and they had, of course, a lot of foreign stars, but they just didn't gel. But we thought, well, there's a lot of money, there's a lot of positivity, surely they're going to get results, and they kept disappointing on that front. But this season, I think they will do well, and because of Badev, he's a much more conducive figure to building a solid team. So I reckon they're going to edge this one. I'm going to go for, I don't know, is it going to be 1-1, 1-0, or is it going to be 2? No, I'm going to go for 1-0, because Badev is conservative, and Igor Shalamov has not convinced me so far. Akhmat Grozny changed the name from Terek Grozny. They're now sponsored by, have a stadium named after, and are named themselves the team after Akhmat. My God, my mind has gone blank. Toku is going to kill me. But anyhow, the former leader of Chechnya, sorry. Now as the name of the club. Who have they brought in? 3 young Brazilians, 2 teenagers. I don't know a lot about them, I'm going to be perfectly honest. But they've kept a lot of their squad together. They're looking fine. Amcar, on the other hand, they've really done the same as they always have done, which again is next to nothing. And they are terrible away from home. They've won 3 games in nearly 4 years away from home. And just 1 last season. So I don't see anything other than Akhmat Grozny winning this one. So what do I reckon? I don't think it's going to be high scoring. I'm just going to go for 1-0. Again, not very imaginative, but there we go. Now, Lokomotiv Moscow against Arsenal Tula. I do see this one being much more high scoring. I did promise you there will be some games with some more goals in it. Russian Cup winners, of course. Solomon Kukvelia signed for them. Arsenal Tula have got Miodrag Bozovic in charge this season. Of course, he won the Russian Cup with Rostov before they were playing in the Champions League 3 years ago. That was. They are missing veteran Chorluka Lokomotiv, but they have, like I say, got Kukvelia in his place. So I do see this being a home win, and I'm going to go for quite a few goals here. I'm going to go for 3-0 to Lokomotiv. Finally, the game of the week. Now, if you follow our betting advice previews on the website, you will see this. This will be up in the next, before the first kickoff at least. Dynamo Moscow against Spartak. Dynamo just been promoted. They've added Wonderson, who, in fact, is Krasnodar's all-time top goal scorer. And they've signed Kirill Panchenko permanently. Spartak Moscow, they've only added 1 player, I forgot his first name, Petkovic, a Serbian defender. I'm afraid I don't know much of him, but I don't think this is going to be anything other than a Spartak win. Moscow Derby, is great to see a historic rivalry back again. Look on the website, you'll find a great article on the history of the game. But I think Spartak are going to win this one. I'm going to go for 2-1 to Spartak. Anyhow, that's the predictions. I hope you enjoyed the Predictions League. Get involved in all our social media and content on the website. There's going to be loads this season. Enjoy, guys. I'll see you soon.